And then start this up. Awesome. So thank you very much. So thanks for your patience, everybody. I'm Eddie. I'm also a bit of a Star Wars fanboy. And I also have this t-shirt today to give away, which is the same one, but I've not worn it, so it's a bit less value than this one, obviously. I'm going to give it away to one of you in the audience, but I actually want to give it away to Raymond Camden, who just was up here because he has this tattoo. So I have to find a way to single him out in this presentation. And while this is running, it's actually building this thing, the Death Star. And it's, it will take even another minute from my time. And I have like 3 hours of content about Firebase. Anybody here knows Firebase? Like everyone, I think. Anyone uses Firebase, actually? That's a lot of you. Also using Firebase with NativeScript, perhaps? Oh, wow, awesome. And does anyone actually like Star Wars at all? It's always also about half. I think the exact same amount that also uses Firebase, so awesome. So why Star Wars? I don't speak a lot, like once a year or something. I was looking for a nice angle for my presentation instead of just summing up everything Firebase has to offer for you. So, and then, I was a bit bored and I was scrolling through my Twitter timeline. I'll show you in a second. So, you're done now. It's going to explode later on, you know. So I was scrolling through my Twitter feed. Oh, that's me. And there was NativeScript saying, hey, Eddie, plugin Jedi, Eddie Verbruggen will present blah, blah, plugin Jedi. That's awesome. And I already had 1 million retweets, so I thought, oh, and another like as well. That's a Twitter bug, by the way. It's that was not me, so amazing, right? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, that's how you have to start anything related to Star Wars, right? And this as well. So episode 9, the title is actually out. It's Force Cloning the Last Awakened Jedi with Hope. So you already know that. You don't have to wait for the presentation. And I actually don't like to read these opening scrolls, so I'll just give you the gist of this. It was founded, well, not Firebase, but there was these 2 guys in the garage creating a chat product, and they had to do real-time synchronization between those clients. So they created a mechanism for it. And actually that took off more than their actual chat client. So at a certain point in time, Google acquired that Firebase product. So that was a real-time database being born. And they added a lot of other stuff to it, like authentication. And they also bought stuff of other companies, from Twitter, for instance. They bought Crashlytics and other stuff. And they created a lot of additional modules to make it a full-blown backend as a service. And in 2017, they also added Firestore, which is the successor to Realtime DB, really. So they added a lot of features and modules. And let me show you what the entire Firebase landscape looks like nowadays. Come on, there you go. It's my best effect of all these slides, by the way. So this is the entire Firebase landscape. All these, I think, 18 modules, and this is what's exposed through the Firebase iOS and Android native SDK, so that's a lot. Some of these you don't need to do in your native app, like for instance A/B testing or hosting. That doesn't make sense on a mobile device. And this is the bit that's supported by the NativeScript Firebase plugin. And actually, there's one here that's InApp Messaging. Yesterday I've released version 8.2.0 of the Firebase plugin, which includes in-app messaging, so that has to move to this side. So there's actually only one thing left for me to do. So you see that AT-AT walking over there, which I thought was really cool. It's actually a movie. So I referred to that movie frame by frame, and then made a movie out of all those reversed frames. So I present to you my most awesome thing of this entire talk. It's the AT-AT moonwalk. I can't do the moonwalk myself, actually. You have to start at something like this and then press that foot down and then, I don't know, it's too complicated, but he's pretty good at it, and I can look at this all day actually. It's amazing, right? All right, let's get serious. So let's start with our first episode, and as you all know, Star Wars episodes are a bit oddly numbered, so anyone wants to guess what the first episode number is? 4, exactly. Anyone also know what the title is of episode 4? Exactly, A New Hope, although it's a new message of hope, because this episode is about in-app messaging, which I just told you about. In-app messaging, in contrast with push notifications or local notifications, it's more of a rich UI you can show in your app, and you can create that UI in the Firebase console on the web, and then present it at a certain time or trigger to your users. So, but don't take these bullets for granted. I'll show you a little of the Firebase console. So here's the. Let me see if this plays. That would be nice as well. Let me see. Yep. All right. This is a little movie I created already. So I have 2 in-app messages prepared for you. This one, this is where you make a nice UI, you give it a title, a tagline, an optional button even. So if you click that button, the user, your app can react on a button press. And you can also say, okay, this message is for iOS or Android. I want to show it when the app starts for the first time, or when some event happens. They're going to a certain screen in your app. And then you can also configure how often you want to show this message to your users. And you can even attach conversion events, because this integrates with analytics as well. Publish the thing, and then on your left there's the simulator, and I've configured it to show when you open the app. And there's the in-app message, the same one as you saw on the web. And at the top you see this event that this campaign was clicked. So really, really nice, easy to set up stuff, and that's part of the version that was released yesterday of the plugin. And did you notice, by the way, that this icon resembles a Star Destroyer a little? Because I did, but sorry, that's just me being silly. So episode 5, another nice Firebase feature, the Empire Storage Backend, as you all know it's titled. It's about cloud storage. So if you have documents and you want to host it in a database somewhere, you can push it to the cloud. It really integrates nicely with authentication. That's also, I'll talk about that in a bit. And there's tons of storage. Google calls it exabyte scale, because Spotify and Google Photos themselves also use cloud storage as a backend. But I'll show you a little demo later and continue with episode 6. Remote config of the Jedi. Remote config is also a pretty useful tool if you want to have some configuration of your app and the server, and you want to manipulate how your application reacts based on certain triggers, analytics events or whatnot. You can change configuration parameters on the fly. And let me also show you how that works. For instance, in this case, I have 6 remote config parameters. The one at the top is May the 4th. And on May the 4th, I want to have your app do something. I don't know what, but probably just make some silly Star Wars joke or something. So this orange box here, this is where you configure that parameter. And what I've done is, okay, if your device language is English, and the date is anywhere between the start and the end of May the 4th, then that config parameter becomes true. And of course, you can also bake that into your application, but use your imagination a little. And this is how you would use the plugin to read config parameters and do something with it. So you just import remote config from the Firebase plugin, then say, okay, in this case, I just want to know the values of these config parameters. So in this case, holiday promo enabled, And if you don't get an answer from the server or that property is no longer there, then you can also give it the default, so it will be false by default. And also product split page is 9 in this case. And then you get back a promise and you can do something with the result. So really easy to use actually. Well, after episode 6 comes episode 1. I'm not sure you want to watch that movie. Not everybody likes it, but I have to talk about it because there's something called cloud functions, and that's actually a pretty cool feature of Firebase. So what are cloud functions? Cloud functions are just your own backend, but then it's maintained and hosted by Firebase, and you get to write them in actually it runs in a Node.js container, so you get to write it in JavaScript or TypeScript. You just deploy it once and you don't have to look at it anymore. It's zero maintenance. And there's a lot of events that can trigger such a function. So for instance, changes in your database, some record is updated, and then you can have your function triggered automatically. Or these remote config parameters, authentication events, analytics events. If your app crashes, not sure how that will work, but you can also then run a function, send an email with sorry, your app crashed. Cloud storage events, and even HTTP. So, and that's also exposed through the plugin, so you can call a cloud function from your mobile app over HTTP and trigger it that way. And I think one of the party pieces of this, because you can write JavaScript or TypeScript to create these functions, and you do the same for your app, you get to reuse logic. So personally, I have an app where I reuse the entire shared module in my cloud functions, and yeah, like the security talk by Alex was really interesting. So if you have less code in your app, I mean, what's the best way to secure client-side code? Just don't put it on the client, right? This guy is not annoying, right? I think he's, so let's burn him with fire. So here's a quick view on how these cloud functions, what these cloud functions look like in the Firebase console. I have 2 here. Don't really care about the details for now, but there's a few things you can see about these functions. For instance, over time, how many errors have there been, and what's the latest error that has been recorded, and also full logging of your function. So if you do a console.log in your function, then you will see it over here. And also if there's an error, then you'll see the stack trace over here. So you get some really good insight in how they're running. And here's also pretty useful to know how often are these functions triggered actually. So for each day you get a number of invocations, and well, there's a few hundred on a certain day. And you might think, okay, what will it cost me? Well, there's this tiny link over here with a quota, and they're really generous. It will take a lot of time and hits before you have to pay for anything, really. Did you notice, by the way, that this icon resembles a TIE fighter, right? It really does. Cool. So here's a little demo about storage, which I promised before, and cloud functions, which I showed you just now. You may know this guy. He was here 2 days ago. He even scored against Ajax Amsterdam. So it was a draw, but Ajax will probably get them in the return of the Champions League quarterfinals next week. So I'm not rooting for him. But what we wanted to do, we have this app where we have these football player ratings, and you can score yourself with practices, etc. And we want to make this cool FIFA-style player card where the hardest thing here is you make a selfie and then you want to remove the background, so you get really immersed in this card. So I found this service which was released recently, remove.bg, Bulgaria. Everything from Bulgaria is awesome except for truck drivers. Some people know. So this is their website. You can remove a background from a picture where there's a person in it, and there's this guy who created this node module to expose their API, so you can use it in your cloud function in this case. So this is his repo with the documentation, blah, blah, blah. And then here's my NativeScript project. So this is this project, the app folder is your NativeScript app, and this Firebase functions folder is where my cloud functions are, so I get to share a bit of code and configuration. And then there's this cloud function called whatever. I can't really read it, but this is the one that removes the background. I'm trying to zoom in now, and I failed. Oh, there I go. So this cloud function gets triggered when a storage object is saved. You can also get a trigger on delete or metadata update and whatnot, but in this case I just, whenever a picture, which is now a giraffe, is uploaded, then I want to download it in this function. So here we download it from the bucket, and then we call that remove BG service, and we save it to a temporary location on some cloud server, thank you Google, and then we upload it back to cloud storage. And that's really it. So download it, manipulate it, upload it again. And this is the cloud storage bucket. Is this the third file over here? That's the one. It was created at 14:44 when I recorded this. I'm going to change this picture to Cristiano. Watch closely because it's really fast, and that's the background gone. So that's the cloud function that got triggered and it ran. And I have to log out and log in to show you. And there you, well, it's almost as cool as the FIFA player cards, but you get the idea, right? And this is that updated file, which is now a timestamp of 1447 as a proof that it was updated by that cloud function. So there's a lot of stuff working together. There's even Firestore somewhere in there because I got to update that player record. There's cloud storage, cloud functions, remove BG. So a lot of cool tech to create actually something that looks pretty trivial, right? But it's not, as we all know. Episode 2. Analytics of the clones. Okay, I'll skip through this one pretty quickly because I screwed up in the beginning. But just so you know, it's like Google Analytics integrated into Firebase. It's actually, as far as I know, the same product, and you get a lot of nice views on top of all the events. So this is a live view of NativeScript plugins app I created, which is in the store, which I demoed 2 years ago at this conference. But yeah, the thing is you can track screen views, you can see which screens in your application are the most popular. In this case, at the third column, there's mapping at top. So people mostly look at the Mapbox plugin in this case. And there's a lot of other stuff going on. But I wanted, there's funnels as well. You get a lot of insight, and yesterday they announced even that there's a lot more features you can have with analytics. So it's really a powerful product. And this is, of course, a more interesting thing as well. Most of the users are in the United States. I see India is in there, and the Netherlands we're on the 8th spot, but it's probably just me clicking around. And this was a bit concerning because this is the distribution of gender and age. Well, it's 8.5% female, which is, of course, a pity. Most of the users are males in their late 20s, begin 30s. So, but it's cool that you get most of these things for free when you install the Firebase plugin. There's really hardly any configuration you need to do. Authentication of the SID. So this is the authentication. And everybody else, of course. Thank you. So this is the authentication feature in Firebase. There's a lot of ways you can do authentication. So there's even anonymous login. That's pretty useful for a quick demo. Your username, password. You can use people's Facebook and Google accounts to do authentication. Also phone number. That will probably not work on a tablet unless you have a SIM card installed. You can use your own backend for authentication. Twitter has deprecated their Twitter kit, so I'm holding off on integrating that. That's also Google's advice, by the way. Just wait, just don't use it for now. And GitHub login. Does anybody use GitHub login? Wow, Rowdy and 2 other guys. So, but I haven't seen an issue on the repo, so that's no real demand yet. But whatever way you authenticate, you get this Firebase user ID you can use, and then Firebase will manage your sessions automatically until you explicitly log out. Episode 7, the machine awakens. So this is one of my favorite features of Firebase. It's called MLKit. And MLKit is like machine learning for everyone. It used to be really hard. It still is, especially if you want to roll your own model. You can ask Jen. It's a horror. But they actually have a lot of cool features already installed for you, which you can also activate all of these through the plugin. So you get to run machine learning features on your device or in the cloud. Depends a bit on the feature. And there's built-in features like text recognition, face detection, barcode scanning, image labeling, landmark recognition. That's probably not the most popular option. And then the new one is language identification, where you just scan a piece of text and it will tell you if it's English or Dutch or whatever. And smart reply, that's the brand new one. I'll show you a demo in a second. Or even, roll your own TensorFlow Lite model. And I'd like to give you a little demo. And for that little demo, I'd like to invite someone on stage to get that t-shirt, but I'd like them to also be a bit of a Star Wars fan. So if he would have a tattoo or something, that would be awesome. And if anyone has a tattoo, then I have this t-shirt to give away to that person. So it would really be great if there was someone, I don't know. Maybe somewhere in the... Oh, hey Raymond! Please come down, sir. So this is face detection. One sec. So what you see here is that you can see if my eyes are open or closed. That's the rows at the bottom where you can see a probability, what machine learning thinks if my eyes are open or not, and if I'm smiling. So it's just scary, sorry. But I was wondering if you could have multiple persons in here, and I'm actually with myself, you see? Okay, this wasn't intended, but I just saw this, so this is cool. But Ray, get in here. Let's see if you can recognize us both. So you could use this for your photo app, right? So only take a picture if everybody in the frame is smiling and has his eyes open. So there's this text below our box, below the box, that will turn purple if we're doing good. Yay! No, still not purple. Oh, let me take a screenshot, actually. Awesome. I'll tweet it out, sir. Thank you very much. Here you go. Thanks, Raymond. So, but there's a bit more cool features in here, and I had this QR code laying around, and it's really pretty good. I mean, you point at it, and at the bottom it will say, okay, what it reads out. NativeScript is the bomb. So, but it's really amazingly quick. It's much quicker than the barcode scanner plugin I also did. And as you can see, that the scanner is now embedded in the page, and that also works on Android, by the way. So everything what I show you here also works on Android in a very similar way. And I think I have to thank Shiva, by the way, for doing this scanning UI, right? Yeah, you did. Thank you very much. It's silly, but it's awesome. So you're at an event and you're a crowd, most probably in a room. And let's see what it makes of this. There's a big ass television in a room, maybe with me in it. Fun. Is it fun? Muscle. All right. Thank you. That's so cool. So yeah, that's machine learning. There's a lot of cool features. Let me see. I'm gonna do one more. Then I think I've shown all the features of machine learning. So 2 days ago, Rob arrived in the Netherlands and he started WhatsApping me. So he said, "Hey, wakey, wakey." I said, "Hey, what's up? It's the Robster. Good morning. Had a good flight?" "Yeah, very smooth. Just very early morning for me. Any plans for today?" And then, oh, sorry. And then Rob said, "Help me out here." Well, he didn't actually say it, but it's better for my presentation. So let me take a picture of this, and I'm going to have to use this in a second. Here's the monitor as well. It's easier for me to photograph. So I'm going to take a picture of this conversation, and I'll show you what I'll do with it. So what I'm doing here is using MLKit text recognition, and it will parse out all these lines into blocks, and I can use that to throw it in an array and say, okay, there's two persons in this conversation, person 2 and person 1, person 2, person 2, person 1, and it alternates between these persons, and this is the timeline, the order of the messages that came in, and then you can give it to MLKit to use their brand new feature called Smart Reply, which you may have seen in your Google Gmail client, where you have, and also on LinkedIn, I think you have it, where you have these simple replies that say, okay, awesome, thank you, no, stuff like that really quickly. And that's also available through MLKit these days. So the API is really simple, mlkit.smartreply just .suggest replies, and then you give it that conversation object on the left, and you'll get back 3 replies, or nothing if you have, well, foul language or stuff like that, then you won't get a response. And it's, at the moment, English only. So let me show you quickly. So this picture is actually very bad, so I'm not sure if this will work. So I'm going to use this picture. I'm going to say, give me text recognition on device, because I absolutely have no internet. So it just, no, okay, it parsed the message into this. I don't know what Samsung is doing in there, but whatever. Also going to check which language this is. It says, hey, yeah, exactly. So it's English, so I can use it to use the smart reply function. So let's do smart reply on this one. And I can reply to Rob with okay, sure, or yes. Awesome. So for the lazy ones, this is a great feature. Nope. He wanted to go to the Rijksmuseum, and I haven't even been there myself, so I'm a bit of an Amsterdam noob. Episode 8. The last JSON store you'll ever need. You can probably guess this is about Firestore. Firestore is like the successor to Realtime database, and it will keep your data in sync across all your clients. It has offline support out of the box. And there's a lot of querying capabilities. I'll skip over this quickly because I think I'm running out of time. But just know that it's a bit more capable than the old one, the real-time database. So here's a quick comparison between these two. There's a quiz answer, by the way, in these slides, so pay attention. So with real-time DB, it's just one big-ass JSON object that you throw in there and you're done. And with Firestore, it's document which has a collection, and a collection has documents, and that's the way they're nested into each other. And Firestore adds offline support for web as well. When you query something in real-time DB, you get the entire tree that you queried, and with Firestore you can say, oh, I only want these things, so that's better for performance and for bandwidth. And one of the biggest problems with real-time database is that you can either sort or filter, and you can't do both in a query, so you have to post-process the result all the time. And with Firestore, there's a bit more possibilities. And also, Firestore is hosted in multi-region and auto-scale, so it's better for scalability. This is actually pretty impressive. Real-time database can handle up to 100,000 simultaneous connections to your Firebase backend, and 1,000 writes per second, so that's really scalable. But Firestore takes it up a notch with 1 million simultaneous connections. It's insane. And 10 times as much writes per second. So a quick look at what these queries look like. So here I'm querying some path, querying measurements, and I want them ordered by score, and I only want scores between 50 and 90, and I want only the 20 most recent records. So this looks beautiful, right? I think this looks better. This is Firestore. And it's even more powerful. I'm querying the same path in the database, but I want to filter on the sprint exercise with official scores, which you can't do in real-time DB. I want to order it by date, but if it's on the same date, I want to also order it on score, and I want to limit it by 20 items. So a lot more readable, a lot more powerful as well. So Firestore, just really check the baby out. There's once again, is there a movie doesn't want to play? Come on, baby. Yeah, there we go. So this is my Firestore Firebase console. Looking at Firestore, this is the same user that's logged in the app. And you see that there's at the bottom right, there's a 4 for physical. and you can see that it's also here in the database for physical. And I'm going to change that, and I'm going to show you how quick it is with updating across all these 3 clients: iOS, Web Console, Android. So I'm going to add sit-ups. It's better for my physical score, 45 sit-ups, because I'm muscular, right? So, and it bumped the physical score to 14. So it's that quick. It's really, really snappy. So last episode, episode 9. Well, the actual title will be revealed in a few hours, but for this presentation, it's more about whatever Google announces at the next I/O, and that's next month. I think last year they announced MLKit, so that was a lot of work for me. I hope they don't do too many new features. So, but by now I think everybody of you is now convinced that you should use Firebase, right? So shut up and take money. My wife thought this Photoshop was actually awesome, so I hope you like it. So where do I look to get this Firebase plugin you're talking about? Well, you can go to firebase.google.com/libraries, and then on the third-party section of this library page in their docs, there's actually a mention of the NativeScript plugin Firebase, which is rather cool. And there's also a GitHub link, and obviously you get there if you press that button. And lastly, to show you that Google actually cares about the NativeScript support for Firebase, is that they are fixing issues for us. I wasn't able to release InApp Messaging support for the plugin because I ran into an issue on their iOS SDK. And so I noticed in their March 19 release notes, were actually mentioned they fixed a crash when integrating Firebase InApp Messaging into NativeScript apps. And after that was done, I was able to add it to the plugin and release it yesterday. So thank you, Google, if you're watching. You probably are. No? So okay, I want to thank you very much and close with a silly Dutch joke that no foreigner will get. And thank you for your attention.